So this is A2. So the requirements for this are that you use either string.format or an F string. You can use either. I'm clearly biased toward F strings, but you can, whichever you feel more comfortable with or whichever clicked better for you. You're required to get user input, and I do want you to comment your code. So each line of your code should have a comment there above it or below it that says, here's what this line of code does. And there's a template file available, but first let me explain what we're doing. Anybody familiar with Mad Libs in here? Yeah? When I was a kid, they used to write these books called Mad Libs, right? And they would use them to teach you the parts of speech, noun, verb, adjective, that sort of thing. So it would have a bunch of blanks, and you would fill in a word that matched that part of speech, an adjective or a noun or whatever. And then at the end, because we were in fifth grade, and it was a bunch of my friends and I would have usually a story about farts and poop, because that's what boys like to talk about in fifth grade. So, obviously we're much more mature here. Now this particular text is kind of interesting because it was an early version of artificial intelligence that was told to fill in the Mad Libs with appropriate words as a test of whether the artificial intelligence could read a body of text and use context to find appropriate words to put into the text. So that's why that's interesting. And this is actually the text that I use in the template file. You don't have to use that text, but you can if you want to. So let me show you something similar to what you're going to find in that template file, so you kind of know what to expect. I'm going to use a much shorter version. Now, the first thing you're going to notice is the use of triple double quotes. Now, I know a triple double sounds like something you would order at In-N-Out, but triple double quotes actually allow you to have a string literal that spans multiple lines. So now when I do this, I can have a body of text that spans multiple lines. So I'm just going to write some random Mad Libs text. Let's do an adjective. Let's do our verb. Okay, so you'll notice here that I've got 3 lines of text. I've got 4 different uh, variables represented here: str text, str adjective, str verb, and str adjective 2. I have to add a 2 at the end of this because I don't want to use the same adjective for both. So it's my second adjective, but at least I know what those things are. And I'm going to make this an F string. Okay, so now, oops, I don't want the period inside here. That's a mistake. There we go. So now you can see these are all highlighted red, and the reason they're highlighted red is because I haven't defined those variables yet. And so I need to define those variables. So if I'm using an F string, those variables have to exist before I create the F string, because when I put that F in front of the string, it's going to be looking for those. If I used a string format, I could define those after. I just have to do it before the format is called. So it's a little bit different. You can always do them before though. So let's, this should be a noun. Sorry about that. There we go. str noun. Okay, so I am creating a verb, protect str adj2 is okay. So now if I want to do this, I can print out str text. And when I print that, what happens is all of these words will be plugged in here. Okay, so I like shoes. They're really nice. They really protect quite well. So that's functional, at least. But it's not really a Mad Libs application because because there's no interaction with the user. So we want to provide user interaction here, and we want to get input from the user. So instead of putting these string literals in as hard-coded things, I'm going to ask the user for each of those things. So I'm going to say input, give me a noun. Okay. And if I want to, I can call strip at the end of that, because then it cleans all the, if they add a space or something at the end of it, I can do that. I don't have to, but it makes sure that my user input is clean and predictable. Give me an adjective. Now I want to make sure that I'm doing things in a consistent way. Input, give me a verb. And the last one, input, give me another adjective. And strip. Okay, so I cleaned that up. So now when I run this, rather than having arbitrary words pre-coded here, now I'm going to ask the user for their input. And before I do that, I'm going to do something to make it a little more fun. Welcome to my Mad Libs game. And I'm going to print an empty line, just an empty string. Right below that, I'll just print a blank line before it asks them the first question. So now I have a whole program here that actually is interactive. So I have, welcome to my Mad Libs game, give me a noun. Verb. Okay, so now I have Mad Libs because I've asked the user to input something, and then it takes that input and it puts it into some text. So those are the basic steps that you need to do in order to complete assignment 2. Now I want 4 or 5 inputs from the user. You must use string format or an F string, and each line of code should be commented. So in other words, you should be coming in here and saying things like, welcome the user, print a blank line, the user to input a noun. You get the idea. So that I know this is part of my ability to understand how much you understand about what you're doing. So as you comment each line, you're basically explaining to me, here's what that line of code does. You're also developing some habits for down the road as you write more complicated code, so that you can explain it to your future self after you forget, which will happen, I promise. So those are the steps for this assignment, the things you need to do. What you'll see is if you look at A2 Mad Libs on Canvas, you will see a template file. And let's see if it's going to open for me today. It probably won't because Canvas has been painfully slow, but I can also download it here. So if I just download that, then I can open that in PyCharm, and there you go. There is the text, and it's the same text that we saw in this little Mad Libs here called Sneakers. Okay, but it is, you can see it's in a triple quote, so it will appear as a block of text. So what you need to do is turn it into an F string or use string format to insert these types of words into this text after you get them from the user. So you must use input to get those things and put them into variables, and then you're going to insert them into text and print out the result. So that's kind of the whole picture of what you need to do for assignment 2.